and welcome to the Roughneck Minute, a Movies by Minute podcast where we go over the movie Starship Troopers 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew.
And I'm your other host, Johan.
And joining us this week is Jonathan, a co-host from Minute Impossible. How you doing, Jonathan?
Hey guys, how's it going? Good.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, guys, we are at minute 114. This minute begins with the brain telling a warrior to back off, a la the alien queen from Aliens, and ends with our heroes fending off the warriors. So yeah, Jonathan, I gotta ask, because we asked this from pretty much all of our guests as well too. First time seeing Starship Troopers, what was it?
First time was in the movie theater. I loved it.
Oh, okay, perfect. So
I'm a Paul Verhoeven fan, I guess. I'm a Verhoeven head.
He's great, isn't he? I mean, Total Recall, RoboCop, any of his other like weirdo stuff.
Yeah, this is right up my alley. I like dystopian future, even a dystopian future where it's proto-fascism and whatever going on in the movie. I love this whole movie. I know it has nothing to do with the book. This movie is so cheesy and the acting is subpar, but damn it, I love it.
It's really is like a 50s B movie, but made in the 90s. It's great.
It's
I love
pulp.
It.
It's pulp.
It really is. Did you ever read the book at all?
I have not. I try not to read anymore. It's helped my.
All that time reading the book of Mission Impossible got you really down.
I'm burned out on reading the novelizations of movies. No, one of the last novelizations of a movie. One of the last original books I read before seeing the movie was Lord of the Rings, and that burned me out on ever reading a book about movies again. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna read all 3 books. Here we go.
Yeah, I gotta say though, one of the books that was worse actually than the movie, I gotta say, is Ready Player One.
Worse than the movie? Yeah, I've heard people. My son actually read the book for his school, and he said the movie was better.
Yeah, so in the book, I'm going to be a little bit of a spoiler because it did come out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever. But in the book, he's a lot more obsessive compulsive. He's a lot more creepy, and like just has these weird like ideas, like a really really bad Sherlock Holmes or a really really bad of like a 60s Batman kind of thing. Like, oh, it was a question. Well, what kind of question would that be? It's Mr. E Enigma kind of thing. Like that kind of like deducing of like clues and everything.
Well, I'm glad they took that out.
So he was a nerd, basically, like a really bad one.
Yeah, but the thing is, the whole entire idea of the story is he doesn't want the person who made the game doesn't want people to be like that. But to win the game, you have to be like that. So that's what didn't make sense. But in the movie, it just makes, instead of going forwards, you got to go backwards. This way, at the very end, you have to just play, adventure, and that's it. The movie makes it a lot better.
Okay.
And the main character is not as weird.
And isn't this movie? You guys have obviously read the book of Starship Troopers. Is this better? Is the movie better to you?
Matt's been the only one that's read the book among the two of us. I went the Verhoeven route.
I gotta say, I want to think of them as 2 different entities, just because like it's in name only. Kind of like I want to say the differences between Verhoeven's Total Recall and the Colin Farrell Total Recall. Like those are 2 different things. One is based off the book, one is not, kind of, but they're both different things and both are good on their own parts.
How has Paul Verhoeven made a name for himself by taking books and just stealing their ideas basically and then turning them into movies? Because he doesn't, it's almost like he's a lazy reader. He's just like, I don't want to read anymore. This is good. We're good. I got the story. Okay. They have guns and the military runs everything and they're bugs. Fine. That seems to be kind of how he has no problem licensing the book and paying the author, but no author seems to come back and be like, way to go, Paul Verhoeven. You really nailed it with my book.
I mean, it was the same thing with Jurassic Park, wasn't it, too? I mean, Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park and it was completely different than the movie. So it's kind of the same thing. I don't know if, Steven Spielberg even read Jurassic Park. Well, he probably did, but
I was just curious if Showgirls was ever a book for the movie. But there's actually a book after the movie.
I've read the book. I've read Showgirls, the book. It's a It's a harrowing tale. It's better than the movie. Amazingly enough.
Well, see, there we go. I mean, it's another thing that's so. Yeah, it's a weird thing where the book is its own, post Korea or like late Korea book about fascism and wars with interstellar bugs. A really nice, sci-fi war drama, and then you have this, as you said, pulpy as hell action flick made in the 90s. They're just way too different things, but they're both great.
Yeah, it's like the book and the movie of Wanted. They weren't even going to match up at all, but they're both pretty good.
The movie Wanted is really good. I really like that.
I like that movie, even though it's garbage of physics and everything.
So dumb.
And the loom.
They started production on the movie, I think, after the first issue of the comic that came out. So the comic, they kind of match up with, the whole Office Space type thing. And then as soon as they like try and find out what the assassins do, basically like the guilds, they completely split apart because they start production on the script before the rest of the comic even came out. So it's good in a sense that it feels like the movie is more original because it never really was based on the comic. But I thought it was good. Both of them were. I didn't think one surpassed the other on that.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about this movie as well, too, Starship Troopers. It's just, they're both good on their own right. They're really good in conjunction with each other, but they're also good single as well.
Well, I love this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
So yeah, I mean, you were in the theater, like, I don't want to date you at all, but like, how
you can date
old were
me
you when you saw
I'm
it?
a good date. You want to go on a date? Let's go on a date.
Sure. Yeah.
You pay for popcorn.
I mean, I have to tell my wife about that, but
that's fine. I'll tell mine.
Okay, perfect.
Now, what were you asking?
But how old were you when you saw this movie?
How old was I?
Yeah.
This came out in 97.
Mm-hmm.
I was graduating from college.
Okay, so you were perfectly fine seeing the. See, I was about maybe 13, 12 years old seeing this movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was appropriate for me to see it.
Yeah, I was 22 or 23 when this movie came out, so
yeah,
it was definitely not. My 14-year-old has seen this movie. Here's my story. It's less about me. It's more about my teenager. He saw this when he was 11, and
this perfect age because it's same as me. Okay,
and my wife's like, "Are you sure this is appropriate?" I go, "There's like nudity, and she's like, "But what about the violence?" I go, "They're shooting bugs." I'm like, they're blowing up bugs and there's green goo all over them. It's ridiculous. I said, sure, he can watch this. This kind of violence for me was just like, it's nothing. It's so ridiculous. They're throwing bombs, grenades into bugs, and the bugs explode. I mean, someone might lose an arm, and there might be like meaty, fleshy stuff, but it's so ridiculous. I was like, it's perfect. He loved it, by the way.
Okay, good.
It's one of his favorite movies.
Yeah, there's only like 3 actual gunshot wounds that resulted in death in the movie. In fact, all the gunshot wounds resulted in death.
Yeah, because it's you're mostly being eviscerated by the warriors. They're just like chopping you up with their arms, or eating you.
Breckenridge, the lieutenant, and then Ratchek. They're the only kills.
Yeah.
So, I guess that isn't that bad. Most of it is just CGI death with the bugs.
Most of it.
It's just,
but nowadays, I mean, CGI death is the kind of thing as well too. So I mean, like everything is CGI, so everything is CGI death.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the movie then. So we're at, as I said, minute 114. Carmen just had cut off the brain bug's proboscis, and it is spitting up blood, but it kind of tells a warrior to back off. Not because, meek little Carmen is, cut off his proboscis or anything, just because, but something's behind her. And she sees who that is, and good gosh, it's our heroes.
It's Rico with his portable nuke.
Oh yeah,
and he said, and he talks to it like he's. Oh my God. Okay, let's just get into this. Casper Van Diem is great in this. He takes all this dialogue that's unreadable, and he sells it. He sells it because he just, one, he's so gosh darn handsome.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That chin of his could cut glass, and 2, he is when he says things like he's like, yeah, that's right. when he like does a little hand motion, kind of like we'll blow you up, kind of like you would talk to how someone from the 50s would talk to someone from another country. We blow you up. That's right, because you're some kind of big fat smart bug. To this day, I use that anytime like I'm running, like if I run into a situation and somebody's like says something really smart, like you're some kind of big fat smart bug. It doesn't go over well. I usually do. But
I'm actually wondering if he improv that whole like exploding thing because it's not in the screenplay. Like some of it is like, you know what this is. You're a big fat brain bug, aren't you? But it would be kind of cool if he's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill you.
So it does say brain bug in the script.
Yes,
that's funny because he says big fat smart bug, and I like smart bug better than I like brain bug.
Same, yeah.
And I thought it was funny that he always used the term that's not the term they call it the whole movie. They're talking about there's a brain bug. There's a brain bug. We think there's a brain on cue. You know, all this stuff.
In the very beginning, during the what is it, the federal Q&A like session of the two minds talking to each other. They said a higher case, a smart bug, and then bugs that think I find that offensive kind of thing.
Yeah, I love this shot when he's coming in. It's a good shot of the portable nuke, which we saw earlier. I'm glad they set it up earlier in the movie because otherwise, it's a fun MacGuffin to have.
It really is. Like they just got to show it off and everything. Like, we do it a couple times and everything. We did talk about the nukes earlier on how they're not actually, dangerous or have a lot of radiation, but they're just really, really big explosions.
Yeah, they're more like those implosive devices. I forget what they're called. I can't remember the name of it, but what it does is it creates a vacuum.
Thermobaric weapon, I believe.
Yeah. That's what it is. It just creates a giant explosion with no shrapnel. It's just force being pushed.
This is kind of what that is as well too. The wiki that unfortunately doesn't have that much information on it that I have been updating from time to time actually does say that this is a cold nuclear fusion bomb, or a fusion bomb instead of a nuke.
Okay.
So it doesn't expel radiation, but it is still nuclear.
Well, and that is fire being shot up the shaft later. So it is fire. I went and looked this up. We being the Americans created a small nuke. Tell me if you guys have talked about this. We created a small portable one back in the 50s and 60s. To be shot out of a cannon. It was called the Davy Crockett. Did you guys talk about this?
We haven't, but I know about it from Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah, it's called an M28 or an M29, and it is called the Davy Crockett. It was a small nuke that could be shot 4,000 yards, or I even converted it, 1,300 square feet. 13,000 square feet. Not square feet. 13,000 feet into an enemy thing, and it would blow up, and then they would die from radiation and the explosion. And I was like, oh, I didn't know we had these. That's insane. I'm glad. Thank God. I think the Geneva Convention probably made that illegal. That you can hurl literally a grenade nuke at somebody.
Is that kind of like the inspiration for the Fat Man on Fallout?
Yes, it is actually,
because that's a same era that they try and emulate.
The Fallout is more of they get stuck in the 50s and then don't go beyond the 50s kind of thing. They just have like a bunch of like 50s style tech that keeps going on and on until like 2077. But yeah, I mean the Fat Man is a nuclear bomb launcher, and they have like mini nukes on them as well, like tiny little portable nukes as well too. But yeah, it is a nuclear launching device that catapults it, literally just goes ching. But no, the Davy Crockett, that was a small portable nuclear launching device that you kind of slung down, kind of like a Gatling gun kind of thing, because it was still heavy, but it was portable enough that you can move it around and launch it kind of like that. Again, I know this mostly from playing Metal Gear Solid 3, where someone actually uses one.
Very cool.
And
I'm glad someone's still using it in games. That's cool.
I've honestly never heard about this. This is kind of cool.
It's really freaking cool. I mean, back in the 50s, they were doing crazy stuff with nukes. They were like Like, let's put it in an ice cream truck, see how it works.
Well, I wonder.
Let's put it underwater.
I mean, if this was one of the things that actually got made, imagine all the things that didn't get made. They probably made underwater versions, ones that would explode underwater and like create shockwaves so bad it would destroy a submarine. I mean, I bet you I bet horrendous things were made.
Yeah, didn't they test near like or around like the Pacific Ocean? Like, wasn't it Hawaii or Fiji Islands or something like that?
Bikini.
Yeah, the Bikini Islands, they did. That's where the whole Godzilla thing.
Yeah, and if you want to believe those movies, that's the nuke tests weren't for tests; they were to destroy Godzilla. But that just made him stronger.
That's what I believe.
Me too. But yeah, I mean, if you really want to talk about like what government has done, I mean, we can talk, man. It has nothing to do with the movie, but good God, I got stuff on like MK Ultra and Edgewood and everything like that.
No,
what
that's
stuff?
all right, Matt.
Yeah, Johan doesn't want me to get into this because we don't want this. We don't want this episode to go on for an hour and a half.
Handheld nukes can't melt steel beams. Everybody knows it. This is a whole nother podcast. Is this? Am I on a different podcast than I thought? I thought we were talking about Star Trek Troopers. I thought we were talking about Star Trek Troopers.
Yeah, those are the Terran Federation episodes and the Mirror Darkly episodes.
Oh, that'd be so good. Just do one episode as a Mirror Universe episode. Oh, okay, anyway,
that'd be cool.
Can we? I got a couple things I want to talk about
Sure.
injury wise in this minute. Two people have injuries in this minute and don't act like they have injuries. Let's talk about I'm going to call her the BFSB, the Big Fat Smart Bug.
Okay.
She has her proboscis, as you call it, her brain-sucking tube cut off, and it starts splurting stuff all over the place. Is that brains or is that her own fluids?
So that's her own fluids. We looked this up from our article that we've been using it called the Army of Clendathu. The stuff that was coming out was, what was it called, Johan? We had notes about this.
Cellfix?
Cellfix or something like that.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be blood.
Okay, so that is blood. So it is hurt like that. Do you think it's like a fingernail? Do you think it grows back?
I don't think so.
I don't think
it's
so.
More, no, I think it is like a mouth kind of thing. It'd be kind of like losing your lips.
Because that's how I suck brains, is with my lips.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, like it'd be kind of like a mosquito's proboscis or a butterfly's proboscis. I don't think those would grow back.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I see it in the earlier minutes, it has it looks like cartilage. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of see-through and tubey. I don't know. Okay, that's cool. My other injury is Carmen's miracle shoulder.
No, we've been talking about this.
Yes, we have.
They actually keep reminding her that you have a shattered collarbone. You shouldn't be able to use that side of your body or that arm. And she keeps using it. And they keep reminding her you can't use that part of your arm. And she keeps using it, so they just couldn't stop her from using the arm that she shouldn't be able to use.
I mean, she's using it right now to hold up the Merida, and I think she's actually using a full-size Merida, not a carbine either.
Yeah, so she also supports her own or her weight.
Yeah, she stands up with
that injury. Yeah, even when she's looking up at the brain bug, she like puts her elbow down and she's trying to prop herself up with the damaged arm. Well,
that is an
collarbone.
That is an 8-inch meat hole inside of her arm.
Yeah.
Because from the back, they've really done, like the back, front's hard to tell, but the back, they really did a lot of FX on it, like a special, practical makeup. And it looks like a giant, I mean, it's a hole.
It's a big hole, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is.
If anything, the arm should be hanging off by a couple of tendrils of meat at this point. I'm amazed it's still there.
Yeah, I brought it up that I dislocated my collarbone, and I felt like I could barely use that arm. And then she has just, like you said, like an 8-inch hole in that side of her body. And she's like, no, I'm still good. It's just a flesh wound.
And the amount of blood. I mean, she'd be dead.
Yeah, we think with the little pincer, it's at least staving off a majority of the blood loss.
Oh, when it's
but
in
the
there?
minute it comes out, the minute it comes out, maybe she's got a few minutes after that. But she seems fine. She's like,
Have you guys ever talked about the fact that maybe the pincers are hot?
No,
No, we haven't.
I got a hot
No.
pincer and I'm gonna stick it in you.
I don't think it cauterizes, but
How much more fun would this be if they're only in the if warrior bugs were only in it for the pain, and so when they hit you, they would stab you really fast and it was burn the hole and cauterize it, so you'd be in a ton of pain but you wouldn't die.
I mean, we've discussed their evolution quite a bit, and we're wondering, like, what the heck were they doing before, the Terrans, the Earth, the Federal Forces came and, decided to start destroying them. I mean, they really scary looking bugs, and we've kind of come to the conclusion that these are kind of like the big, ugly, like, warrior ants that just get bred mostly, and the workers are just not around that much anymore.
I don't think that most of their come into being wasn't just evolution, space exploration, and then sadism right at the end. Like, I don't think that they're just going around stabbing people just to, like, sidle up next to their screams, going like, "Ooh, yeah, just
That's
let
true.
it out."
Ants don't really go in for that kind of thing. They're not really going, yeah.
Yeah. Like, they bite you and then they look at you to see you scream and they're like, "Ooh, yeah, it just goes down my thorax." it just seems like what's in the screenplay is they tear apart the body like the warriors do, and then they always throw the body and we never see what happens to that body that's being tossed over the wall. But apparently the worker bugs, which look like the chariot bugs, are supposed to be breaking down that body. So I think what they're doing is they at least dispose of any form of defense by cutting off the legs and the arms, and then they toss it to what eventually is going to be digested by the worker bugs. So I think that's the only point of the reason why they do the stabby is because when it comes to the brain bug, it needs to have a functioning brain, so all they can do is just pin the person down in order for the brain to get sucked out, because if they cut everything up, then the body seems to die, and they're like, oh, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, Verhoeven wanted a weirder version of this scene, or even scarier version of the scene, where the chariot bugs actually go and start cutting pieces off Xander and Carmen to, like, kind of stop them from moving around too much.
Yeah.
But I think he was stopped by producers and other people as well too. We do see one of the chariot bugs in previous minutes. Like, they are kind of bodyguards, though. They do cover up Xander's Marita and kind of take it away from him as well too. So they are smart enough to know what to do, but they're not weird like that anymore, I guess.
Does the BFSB, does she communicate only through? Not communicate. Does she only eat brains? Is that because she's a big lady?
Yeah.
I don't think so. We thought about this earlier too. Johan, go ahead.
Yeah, the idea that I had was before they started coming across the humans and whatnot, is there was this big old bug that was probably a little bit smaller and skinnier that had no purpose. And then when they found out, like, oh, this Jim over there that has been pointless and we've been laughing at as proboscis, like, apparently can suck the brains out of these jerks that keep invading us and use it against them. And then it finally had a purpose, because it's hard to believe that this particular bug evolved out of nowhere in order to strategize. Like,
yeah,
I think
what else
this
could it
bug
be? Yeah,
has been around.
The brain bug is in charge of each hive, right? Kind of like a queen-ish.
Yeah, but we don't really know what lays eggs, if this one does or not.
Do the books have anything about any other, like, parts of the way the hierarchy works, or is it only talking about the same things?
Very rarely do they talk about anything other than the brain, or they may talk about, like, a queen once or twice here, and they'll say, like, once it gets to a certain size, it moves on, a queen gets made, and they disperse to another colony. But that's basically all it is.
So nothing about eggs or anything, or how they create.
Nothing.
Nope. Yeah, screenplay doesn't even show any form of hierarchy. It's just different bugs. That's it.
My idea. Go ahead.
This may be tipping your hand, but have you guys watched ahead? Do you guys watch the other ones? Have they ever explained it in later movies? I know the book series stops. Is there, has they moved into the movies? Have they ever? Because
Nope.
sequels love to go back and be like, "We never told you this," but this was happening.
Second one does almost nothing with the bugs. It's more it felt like it's supposed to be some sort of suspenseful thriller of them being stuck in that base. The third one's just another bug fight. I actually don't remember if there was even a tanker. It was just all warriors.
Isn't there
it's
a new
warriors
one?
and then the big giant brain, which is like the Cthulhu like.
Yeah.
It's basically the planet. It's like into the planet and everything. It's giant and everything, but they kill it with a big bomb. But they introduce a few new bugs in there, but that's about it. But no, nothing else about. I think if anything, they may have a few things in like the anime or the CG, the Roughneck Chronicles. But I've yet to watch the Roughneck Chronicles because that CG is really, really rough.
Okay.
That's like reboot style stuff in like 2004.
Well, not every series gets where the sequels get better and better. Not everybody is lucky enough to have picked a movie franchise.
Yeah.
No, we've definitely decided that we're not going to do number 2 and may only do like an hour episode of number 3, if that.
That's fine. I think the Starship Troopers, the first one, the only one. I don't think of it. Same as Highlander.
I had an idea about the brain that it was more before getting invaded by the Federation. I keep saying Terrans because they're from Terra, I guess, but. It is a Terran Federation. It's the Federal Forces. But I had an idea that they were more along the lines of like, oh, where are we going to colonize today? Well, let's talk to the brain and see what he wants to do. Oh, he's sucking on, one of these indigenous life forms with his proboscis that's not killing brains or anything. And then, decided once they got invaded, oh, wait, we can learn stuff from these dudes by sucking out their brains. Wow, that's pretty cool of you. You more than just a strategy douche.
Have you ever thought about the fact that the reason why they came up with what they did was because it was overpopulation? Like there were so many warriors or whatever that's why they created those ones that could shoot their spores into space. Because they don't space travel. They're just pretty much like, well, this planet's done. Send it into space and let it go somewhere else. There's not a lot involved. It's not like they're like, I must go to this planet.
The book is a lot easier on this one because they actually do have spaceships and they do have like a form of government, but it's more like of a collective colony.
They have government.
Well, it's not like any kind of like, it's just like a hive government, like a communist hive, and it works perfectly because no one asks any questions. But they are somewhat individuals, but they are controlled by pheromones.
Do they have trade negotiations?
No.
That's my favorite thing in sci-fi movies.
No, they went to that more on the second movie,
but they actually kind of did because in the very beginning of the book, Rico is invading a planet that has indigenous life forms that are pretty much really, really skinny people that are maybe around 7 feet tall, but they're allies of the bugs, and they're called skinnies, but they're not humans. But they're like kind of like stick bug looking people, but only have 4 limbs instead of 6. So in the book they do, but in the movie, no, of course not. It's really weird. I don't know. Like the book is just all sci-fi weirdness with like awesome military and marine undertones, and a little bit of fascism too. But who knows?
A little bit of fascism, always good.
A little bit of fascism will do you.
Yeah, you need to just throw a dash of it in everything.
Just a dash. So, and you're going off the injuries as well too. When Johnny says, "Come on, Carmen," telling her to come, grabs with her bad arm.
Yep,
of course.
I'd be like, hey, Johnny, can you not notice?
Don't touch it.
You're some kind of little, skinny, dumb bug. Why are you grabbing me by my arm?
But then, as soon as the queen, as soon as the brain leaves. They all start attacking once again.
Yep.
Well, so here's just one thing I wanted to talk about in the screenplay that was written, and the way it kind of differs in the movie is when the brain bug leaves, the workers are supposed to seal the hole that the brain bug went through, and as soon as it's filled, that's when they start to attack. They actually timed it of when they were going to defend that territory.
Do they knock
You know,
down
they
the
didn't want to-
hole, or do they secrete some sort of fluid into the hole that makes it hard?
They,
or?
yeah, they secrete some sort of thing.
Gross.
In the screenplay, they actually build barriers as the troopers come in.
Oh, that's kind of
So
cool.
every time the troopers are invading, the workers are building a wall. So they have their own form of tower defense, I guess.
I like that they did it the other way in the movie, where it's just they're on planets that have, you know, natural hills and valleys.
Terrain.
'Cause otherwise, it would be like, what? You know, I think sometimes these science fiction movies will go too far. I think this movie is, in its simplicity and pulpiness, actually finds a way to be simple, as opposed to having, you know, like think about Transformers and think about the movies that have large, that terrible Independence Day sequel. They always add too much extra. And in this movie, there are warriors, flyers, those big giant bugs that shoot out the acid, and brain bugs, the little bugs that carry things around, the chariot bugs. There might be a couple others, but they don't really focus on many of them all at once. They're always, here's this giant bug, here's the bug that shoots the thing up out of its butt. You know, they each one has its time on screen, and they don't. Most other movies nowadays would put too much stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
You mean like the Avengers Infinity War coming up?
Oh, I can't wait for that movie. I got tickets for Thursday night. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but that one's going to be like one of those situations where, especially with the invading forces of Thanos, there's going to be a ton of different things going on. I mean, the heroes are all known, but obviously there's going to be a different one.
Well, since we know when this is
every 5
coming,
seconds.
since I know when this is going to be coming out, my prediction for this is not a prediction. You can kind of tell they are splitting the team up. The team gets split up into 3 parts. So even the directors understood, look, we have to get these people apart. They're not going to come together and unite as the Avengers, like all together, until the end of this movie or the end of the next movie. They're going to make us wait for an all-out fight.
Yeah.
And that's better for the story. I mean, obviously, like you're saying, it's too much. You can't have...
Yeah. Like Doctor Strange shows up with Captain America and Wakanda, and they're like, hey, are you guys good guys too? Yeah. Oh, dang it. Let's just form a team.
You got code names and costumes? I have code names and costumes. Let's do it.
And then Doctor Strange pops up. I don't have a code name, but I do have a costume.
I'm just a doctor.
They kind of did the same thing in like the old comic books. Just specifically, I remember having. I mean, I still have it, but my trade paperback of the Dark Phoenix saga, where Jean Grey finally becomes Phoenix. There's a like page just with 4 panels on it of the New York, you know, superheroes. Oh, it's my Spidey sense is tingling. Doctor Strange is like, wow, something's going on. And then, you know, the Fantastic Four are like, whoa, what's going on? And that's it. I mean, they want to let you know that something's going on in the world, and that the whole entire world is connected, but they're not going to do anything.
I would love a true sequel to this movie. We'll never get it because you can't. This is never going to happen again. This was just
It really is.
It was just a funny little thing that it'd be different if they. Problem is, any other movies they've tried to take too seriously.
Yeah, the third one I think was a better attempt at making a sequel, especially than compared to the second. Because the third one actually gave us the Marauders that were always talked about in the books, so they finally brought it. They seem to have been trying to get at the main source of all the bugs. So it was a better attempt at a sequel, but it just wasn't even in the same ballpark as far as enjoyment.
It was just way too goofy for of a movie to be taken seriously for me, just because, I mean, you have the Sky Marshal as a pop singer as well too, you know, doing his top hit that everyone loves, and, you know, signing autographs and everything. I mean, signing autographs is cool. He's Scar Marshal, yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's like they removed all the fascism and heavy military overtones for religious overtones and possibly what's it called, Hunger Games.
Pretty much, yeah.
So it just wasn't even close as far as the sequel goes, but it was a better attempt than the second one.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not saying I have no clue what Trader of Mars looks like because we haven't watched it yet, even though it's out. I haven't done my due diligence and watched it, but it may be decent, but from what I hear, it's not.
Yeah. It may be decent, but it's not.
No, that's what I hear, it's not.
It sucks that that's the sequel that it felt like just stop trying, you know? Like maybe if they removed the other two sequels and went to Trader of Mars, it would have been a better sequel, quote unquote, than having those two just floating in the wind as like, oh, those exist. We can't forget that those exist. And no one forgets that they exist.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, both of them were either made for TV or direct to DVD. Like, none of them got a theatrical release.
Nope, they were straight to DVD. I remember because I got them on DVD back when Blockbuster used to send them online. I was like, oh, cool, they're out.
I think 3 was like maybe paid for by one of the channels. I think maybe either Sci-Fi or something like that, but I don't know. But yeah, it definitely was a made-for-DVD TV movie, though. Never got a theatrical release.
Yeah, they just wanted to give like kind of like a... Well, one of the things they showed in the trailer was the Marauders, so that was supposed to be like the cell. Plus the title of the movie was Starship Troopers 3, Marauders.
And they don't show up until like the
last 10 minutes, yeah.
Go figure.
There's like 2 scenes of nudity before you get to see the Marauders.
And hey, I know I don't mind nudity in my movies, and you know what they did was pretty great because let's scan in the pilots, and we're scanning in all the pilots.
Yeah, and they were just completely naked, which was like kind of weird. Like that, you can scan them in a different way, but all right.
They had to be scanned in perfectly without any clothes, Johan.
I know, but it is just weird.
It's kind of like Quiet, you know. She can't have clothes on because she breathes through her skin.
That's just science.
Yeah, it's super science. Come on, all these explanations to have sexy ladies show off their stuff.
All right, so Science Wizards did it.
Exactly.
All right,
horny science wizards. But we really end this minute with Ace telling the group, the rest of the Roughneck, or the rest of the group, where the brain bug is, reeling it, and then the fighting starts. That's where the minute ends, basically. All right, guys, do you have anything else you want to say about this particular minute?
No, I'm good.
Nope, I'm good.
All
right, well, let's close it out. Johan, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitch and Instagram at JDASHD26. You guys can find me on Twitter at OMG It's Johan.
And Jonathan, you're joining us from somewhere as well, too. Why don't you give us some plugs?
Yeah, we're the Minute Impossible podcast. We break down the movie Mission Impossible from 1996, 1 minute at a time, same as you guys do here. And we're starting to wrap up as this comes out. We're in the 60s right now, so we're over halfway done. You can find us on minuteimpossible.com, at our Facebook group, The Impossible Minute Force, on Twitter at Men Impossible, MIN Impossible. And we also now just started a Patreon. So patreon.com/Minute Impossible. We've got a bunch of different tiers of things. Please go. And if you like listening to us or any MXM podcast, find out if they have a Patreon. That's our new thing is Patreon.
What was your $20? I remember seeing it. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Your $20 that got filled.
We have a $20 thing. There's more than one. More than one person can put that down. We have a lot of different tiers. The last tier is my co-host Chris and I in college made student movies, and we made a movie called Toastmaster, and I'm the star of it. It's a kung fu movie about a guy who throws toast like they're ninja stars, and it's got puppets and sidekicks. I have a sidekick named Bagel Babe, and she wears a bagel on her belt like a medallion. It's pretty insane. So that's our highest tier. And we're going to do a commentary. We're actually probably going to do a live commentary. What it's going to turn into is everyone's going to pay. We're all just going to come together, watch the movie, and talk about it, and watch me turn beet red. I haven't watched this movie in over 20 years.
Oh, God, that's great.
It's pretty bad. So, yeah.
Yeah, go and get that going because, gosh, guys, that needs to be seen.
And listen to our podcast.
And listen to their podcast. It's great. We were on there a while back. We did minute, I believe, 35 to 40. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
It was super fun.
Was actually a fun record.
And you guys can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet at AltTabMatt, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, what have you. You guys can follow the show itself at the Roughneck Min on Twitter, MIN. You guys can go to our Facebook group, the Roughneck Minute Billet, to continue the conversation and talk about Starship Troopers or whatever have you at 4 a.m. It's always fun to do that. You guys can go to our website, theroughneckminute.podbean.com, for any past episodes of show notes. And guys, go ahead and please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, what have you, or any of your podcast catchers that you choose to do. Thank you guys once again for listening to us. I've been your host, Matthew.
And I've been your other host, Johan.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we will see you on the bounce, troopers.
Pedal to the metal, Commander.
Pedal to the metal.